Francesco is the last speaker, and he is a born debater. And tonight, he has a question for us. Do protests actually work? Taking the streets to demonstrate can seem like a great thing to do, but is it the right one? In his talk, he will show us whether demonstrating actually matters. Let's welcome Francesco.
During a class discussion on current affairs, we somehow ended up talking about how a woman had left prison after serving her sentence for the murder of her mother, and how her father had publicly stated that he had forgiven her. Our history teacher pointed out that she would never forgive someone if they killed her mother. As a matter of fact, she would put them to death. When I and a classmate of mine argued that death penalty is deeply unfair, she replied to us, or better, she shouted at us, "I hope you never become lawyers or judges. Otherwise, I don't know how we would end up." What did she obtain? She actually gave me an idea. I am now considering law school, and I am a convinced debater on what seems unfair, which can lead to political protest. But where does this word originate from? The word politics comes from the ancient Greek politica, meaning state affairs. This concept goes beyond parties and politicians. It refers to the involvement of citizens in issues and decisions regarding their own communities and nations through a democratic system on all topics, from marriage equality to economic policies, and so on. Now, do we, young people, know enough about politics to make our own decisions? The answer seems to be no. We are said to be uninformed and misengaged. Let me give you an example. About once a month, I find party representatives distributing propaganda right outside my school. Some may say it's wrong, but it's legal. In fact, right or wrong, the point is that that propaganda only comes from extremist parties, no in between. They seem to be the only political elements interested in reaching out to new generations. But despite this lack of interest, lots of teenagers and young adults I see around myself are taking part in the political debate in a way which is not based on insulting each other on social media, because they care fiercely about justice, equality, and other issues. From all social and economic statuses, they take part to dialogue, problem solve in their local communities, and walk together in peaceful protests. This is the first protest I ever went to. It was this year, on February 2nd. On that day, a few minutes after the protest began, it started snowing. I had my scout uniform on, and I was freezing. But just like all the others, I stayed and kept supporting that cause. Then, obviously, there is Fridays for Future, with its huge event on March 15th. As you all probably know, a huge demonstration was held all over the world to demand action against climate change. On that day, several thousand students and all other kinds of people flooded the city center here in Turin, like a green wave screaming, "We want change, now." Now, what was I driven by? What made me want to join that protest and everyone else? On that day, after the demonstration, during our usual Friday TED Club meeting, a friend of mine, Georgia, came up with an interesting question. Do demonstrations actually influence politics? Firstly, we need to fully understand what she meant by that. Now, picture this situation. You are a politician. You were elected by a solid and tight electorate which knows what issues you are interested in changing. All of a sudden, some relentless activists raise a movement so large it mobilitates 200,000 people just in your nation for an issue that you do not believe in. Now, if your voters who brought you to power do not support it either, do you bother to find out about it? You probably don't. But does this mean that protesting is useless? It doesn't. Obviously, it's difficult to decide whether a demonstration is successful. Some may see it as the immediate obtainment of change. Others might argue that many people showing their opinion together must lead to politicians changing or moderating their opinion on that specific topic. Demonstrations get people involved in the political debate so that they turn into practice what they learned during the demonstration. Then, protesters can go back to their own environments and spread the ideas to which they have been exposed. Research by Harvard University shows the importance of social dynamics in the development of movements for political change. This means that the interactions that take place during demonstrations help to strengthen the movement that has been protested for. Demonstrations, if well organized, are amazing moments. Standing there in the middle of your beloved city's main square, chanting and screaming for what you believe in. You are doing what you know to be right, fighting for an issue that you believe that your society needs to face. By doing so, you can feel that you are not alone in your battle. In that moment, your fight is everyone's fight. And you feel invincible because you know that by sticking together, you have a chance at making change happen. This is what I was driven by, the feeling that we are all in it together. So now go. After you vote, after a demonstration, demonstrate, chant, scream. Take the ideas that have been shared with you tonight and make them part of your own life. Find your own fights and turn them into movements. Make the people and the world around you understand that you are right, and you will not stop until you make your dream a reality. Thank you.